Welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we'll be looking at how to build the cats page of our Agric plant app. So let's look at what we'll be building. So this is the cats page we'll be building, and then it's going to contain cat items, right? This is going to be the layout. We have our product image, which is the item the user has added to the cart, the name of the item, the description, and then the price as well as the quantity. Also below that we have the total number of items in the cart, the price, and then a button to proceed to checkout, right? So the user can remove items from the cart by swiping to the right, where we get this delete icon reveal effect, right? So you can swipe and then the user will be given 3 seconds to keep the item in the cart after removing it. So if I swipe this again, I can keep it. So if I don't want to delete the item, I still have some chance to keep it, right? So if I mistakenly swipe to remove an item from my cart, I still have some time to undo that action, right? So this is what we'll be building today. Let's get right into the video. So here in VS Code, I have an app running, which is the app that doesn't have the cart page. So this is the version of the app that is currently running, and if I change something, realize that it changes in real time on the page, right? So this is how we're building our cart page. Okay, so the first thing we're doing on this page is to have our list of cart items, right? So in the body we are going to have a list view, but then there is not going to be a list view builder, right? This is just going to be a normal list view with some children. The reason is we are going to have other things in the UI, right? And they must all be scrollable, so we can't use a list view builder for the items. So in the children of this list view, we are going to have first the list of items. So the list of cart items in spread out. So the list of cart items spread out in the view, and then we are going to have the total items in cart, the total items in cart, as well as total price, and then we are finally going to have the checkout button. So this is how our layout is going to look like, right? So starting from the list of cart items, we're going to have a separate widget for that, since we don't want to put all the UI for a cart item in the list view, right? So for now, what I'm going to do is, let's assume we have 4 products which are in our cart, right? So in order to create that, I'm going to create a variable here called cart items, and that is going to be our product. And we had this product coming from our data, and I'm going to take 4 of these products, right, convert it to a list like this, and then there is going to be our cart items for designing the cart page. Now with this product, I'm going to loop through the items we have, and then for each item we are going to return a certain widget. So for now, in the list view where we have the list of cart items spread out, I'm going to use a list.generate. Now you can map over the cart items, and then for each item you return a widget. Another way you can do that is to use the list.generate approach. So I'm going to do list.generate, and then I pass in the length to be the cart items.length. That's number of items I want to loop over. And then instead of having this as an arrow function, I'm going to return let's say a text that says cart item index. Now we are going to have an error because this list.generate is going to return a list of what widgets, which is a list of text widgets. But what we want to do is we want to spread this cart items into our list view. So we can use the spread operator like this, and then also remove the cons from here, and that is going to fix the error. Now we have instances of product, right? So if I access the text, or which is the name, we are going to have tractor, fresh fruits, just the products that are in our cart items. Now instead of returning just a text, we're going to create a separate widget for this. So back in our directory, let's look for the widget and then create a widget. So I'm going to create a new widget called cart item, right, dot, and this is going to be a stateless widget. So cart item like this, and this cart item is going to take a product, right? So we can have a variable called cart item, and then that is going to be of type product. So final product and then cart item, and then we can require this in the constructor like this, and then let's return the cart items, let's say name, right? So return text, and then we can put the cart item dot name like this, right? So back in our cart page, instead of returning just this text, we're going to return the cart item widget we just created, and then passing the cart item. In order to access the currently looped over cart item, we use cart items and then we pass in the index. So there is an array or a list, so we can access each item by using the square bracket notation and then passing the index. Now this is what we have. We still have the same thing, because in our cart item, all that we are doing is we are just printing the name of that particular item, right? So this is where we will start our design from. Now the first thing I want to do is, in our list view, we don't have any padding in the list view for now. So realize that all the items in the list view are touching the edges of the screen. So back in our cart page, in the list view, we can use the padding property and then set the padding to edge inset dot all and then a value of 16. So that is going to give us some padding. And I'm back in our cart item. Let's start designing this widget. So the first thing we are going to do is to have a card, right? So if you look at the finished version of the cart page, realize they look more like a card, right? So we are going to use a card widget for this, and what we are going to do is, where we are returning a text, instead of having a text, we are going to have a card like this. And for now we don't see anything, right, because there is nothing in the card. What I want to do is, I want to give this card a fixed width and then height. So I'm going to wrap it in a sizer box, and then within this sizer box, I'm going to give the height to be 125. For the design of our card itself, it's going to be like the card we designed for the home page, right? So we can just go straight to the home page and then look for the explore page here, right? And in the explore page, where we have the product card, so more specifically the product card, not product, so products card here. So this is what you're looking for, and then we can copy the properties of the card we have over here, right? So I'm going to copy all this, and now paste it in the card of the cart item, right? So we have to move the cons from here, and now when I see, we are going to have this UI for the card. So one thing I realized is we need space between our cards. So back in the cart page, we are going to wrap each cart item in a padding widget. So wrap it padding, and then we are going to give it a padding of only bottom and then a value of 10. So right, and this should look okay. So we can now get back to our cart item. Now within the card, we are going to have a child. So within the card, a child, and then the child is going to be a row, and the row is going to have children. Now the first child of this row is going to be the image of the product, right? And then the rest will be other information. So other information. So let's have our image in a container, and the reason I'm going to use container is because I'm going to give it some border radius, which you can wrap the image widget in a clip and rect, but then I prefer using the container approach as we've used in the previous video. So I'm going to have not an image but then a container, and then the decoration, and I have to move the cons from here. So the decoration is going to be box decoration. Then we are going to have our image, which is going to be a decoration image, and the image is going to be our asset image, and then the asset name is going to be cat item.image, right? So if we save and if everything is right, we should see our image. And if you are not seeing our image, let's give our image some width and height. So in the container, let's give our width to be 90 and our height to be 100%, right? And now we can see our image. The height and the width is not looking that great. So how we can fix that is within the decoration image, you can add a fit, and that is going to be box fit dot cover, right? And when we do this, we are going to see our image coming in shape. We want to have some padding within the card, right? So realize that our image is touching the edges of the card. So we're going to wrap the row in a padding widget and then give it a padding all around of 10. So we are going to have something like this, right? Now let's apply some border radius to our image so it becomes a bit rounded. So just within the decoration, we can have border radius and set it to border radius dot circular, right? And the value we'll be passing is 10. So like this, and now we are going to have these images here. So after our image, we are going to have a column that is going to hold the name, and then we are going to have our price and then our buttons for changing the quantity, right? So just after the image, the other information is going to be in a column with some children, right? And I think maybe we have to put a comma here, so I think that's the error, right? Now within the column, we are going to have a text that is going to be our product, so which is the cat item dot name, and we'd have to move the cons from here as well. When we save, we have these names displayed here for each product. Now we have to give some spacing to the right of this image so that the name doesn't touch the image. So back in the container, there is a property we can use for this, which is going to be the margin property, and I'm going to give it edge insert dot only, and then the value is going to be right, and then it's going to be 15, right? So I want a margin right of 15, and that is going to push everything to the right by 15, right? And now we can have our name here. So within the text, let's style our text a bit, and then the style I'll be given is going to come from our theme. So theme dot of context dot text theme, and then we can have our title medium text style like this, and this is going to be our text style. So just after that, we can have some space, and I'm going to use a sizer box for that, and then give it a height of just 2, so just a very small space, and then we can put our description there. So text, and then we are going to have our cat item dot description, right? And when we save, realize that our description is overflowing the container, right? So one way we can fix this is to wrap the column in an expanded widget, so the column doesn't know how big it should be within this particular row, right? So if we wrap the column in an expanded widget, we are telling the column in the row that it should just take the available space after the container has been laid out, right? So any space remaining after this container, which is the image, it belongs to the column. Then it knows how to size its children, right? So let's wrap this column in an expanded widget. So wrap its widget, and then the widget is going to be expanded. And you can also use the flexible widget for that, and realize that it fixes the overflow on the right, but then there is still some overflow on the bottom, right? So in order to fix that too, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a max line on this text, which is going to be 2, right? And that's going to fix that. And I'm going to have an overflow, so overflow of text overflow dot ellipsis, so that will let the user know that the text is overflowing. Also, I don't want the title centered, so the name of the product centered. So within the column, I'm going to use the cross-axis alignment and set the cross-axis alignment to start, right? And that's going to move the title back to the left like this. That's the start of the column. And now let's change the style for our description. So we are going to use a style from our theme. That's going to be theme.offContext.text theme, and then we are looking for our body small, right? So that's the text style I want to use for this, and then that's going to be for our description. Now after our description, we want to put whatever below it to the far bottom. We don't want to give a certain amount of space between our description and then the next item. We might not be accurate. So what I want to do is I want to just push everything to the far bottom, right? So how I'm going to achieve that, I'm going to use a spacer widget within the column. So we have the cat item.name, cat item.description, and then just below that we are going to have a spacer instead of a sizer box. So a spacer, and that's going to push everything to the bottom. And now we're going to have the price of this item. So if I put cat item.price, you realize it is coming to the bottom. We are just pushing everything to the bottom. We are going to have the price as well as the quantity in a toggle button to the right. So instead of having just a text here, I'm going to wrap the text in a row widget like this, and then this way we can have our text and something else, right? So let's first style our price, and then the style I'm going to give is going to come from our text style. So theme of context, the text theme, and then we are looking for our title medium again, but then this time around we are going to copy that and then change the color. So the color is going to come from our theme, and that is going to be theme.offContext.color-scheme.primary. So we are looking for our primary color, and that is going to be for our price. Now to the right we are going to have some buttons to toggle our quantity, right? So if we go to the finished product, realize that we have these buttons that we can use to change the quantity of item. For now they are not functioning because it's just the UI for now, right? So back to what we are working on, we are going to have some sets of buttons, and how I designed these buttons was to use a toggle button widget, right? So instead of manually designing this button, I just came up with the idea of using a toggle button. So just after the row, instead of using a spacer within the row, we can have the main axis alignment. So I'm going to use that main axis alignment, the space between, and that's going to space out this text, which is the price, and then the toggle button. So we are going to have our toggle button like this, and then the children and is selected for now will be an empty array, right? So the children will be the decrease and then our quantity and then increase icon button, right? So the first child is going to be our remove icon. So icons.remove, right? And we are going to get an error because there is nothing that is selected. So let's have is selected for this to be true. When we save, we are going to have this big minus icon over here, which is overflowing our container for now, but then we are going to fix that. So the next child is going to be our text that says the quantity. So I'm going to put 2 here for now, and then last child is going to be our add icon. So icons.add like this, and then we have to also add the is selected. Now the is selected for the text is going to be false, and then for the icons is going to be true, right? So when we see, we are going to have these big toggle buttons here. Now let's style our toggle buttons. So the first style we'll give is for the selected versions of the icon of our children, right? So if it is selected, our selected color is going to be our primary color. Let's go on to make this a bit smaller. So within the toggle buttons, there is a constraint property we can use, and that is going to be a box constraint. Now within this box constraint, we are going to set the min height to be 30 and then the min width to also be 30, right? And when we do that, realize that our icon button reduces in size. Also, we want to have some border radius for our icon button, so we're going to use the border radius property and set it to border radius dot circular, and then we want to give a very big value for that, so that is going to make it rounded. So we are getting our rounded icon button, but we still have the overflow issue. So let's fix our overflow issue. And the first thing we are going to do to fix this overflow is to reduce the size of our icon in the toggle button. So I'm first going to set the size to be 20 for this, and then also set the size to be 20, right? And that reduces the size a bit. Also, let's wrap this toggle button in a sizer box, and then give the sizer box a fixed height of 30, right? And that is going to fix our overflow issue, right? Now the only issue we have is there is no difference between the selected and then unselected, right? So we have to add an on press to this toggle button. So for now they are all disabled, right? So we add an on press like this, and when we save, we are going to see these colors. So when a user taps on these buttons, we have to know what the user is tapping on. So the index is going to give us what the user is tapping on, whether the user is tapping on the remove, add, or just this text. So if index is equal to 0, then user wants to decrease quantity. Else if index equal to 2, then the user wants to increase the quantity, right? So this is how we can control these toggle buttons. So that is going to be it for the card design. The only thing left is to implement the swipe to remove feature. So in order to implement that, we are going to wrap this sizer box in a widget called Dismissible, right? So wrap with Dismissible, and then Dismissible has a required parameter which is key. Now this key should be unique for each cat item, right? So we are going to use something called unique key, and this unique key is going to give us a key which is going to be unique for each cat item. Now with this implemented, we can just swipe this like this to remove it, but there is not a feature we want, right? So what we are going to do is we're also going to add other functionalities to this. Now the first thing we are going to do is we are going to set the direction that this dismissible can be swiped. So for now it can be swiped in all directions, right? If that's what you want, then you can leave it to the default behavior. But then I only want this dismissible to work when the user swipes it to the left, right? So I'm going to set the direction of this dismissible to be dismiss direction dot end to start. So from the end, which is the right, to the start, which is the left. So now we can't swipe to the right anymore, we can only swipe to the left, right? So something like this will still work. Now when we are swiping, we want to show something behind the card we are swiping. So in order to achieve that, there is a property called background, and that takes a widget, right? And then the widget we are going to use is going to be a container widget, and then within the container widget, that is where we are going to have our icon, right? So let's first give it a color, and the color is going to be colors.red. So if we do this and we see, realize when we are swiping, we get this background, which is the container widget. And the only problem is the container is not shaped like our card, so it's a form of like rectangle. So we can use the decoration and then box decoration, and I would have to move the color to the decoration. And now within it we can have the border radius and set the border radius to be the same border radius as our card. So I think the value is 10, right? And now when we save and we are swiping, realize that it fits the shape of our card. And the next thing is to have the icon, right? So within the decoration, within the container, we are going to have a child, and that child is going to be our icon. And the icon is going to be from our iconly package. So iconly light, and then we are looking for the delete icon, right? So when we save and we start swiping, we should see our delete icon, but that's somewhere in the middle. That's not the position we want to have it. So we want to align our icon to the right. So how we are going to do that is the container has an alignment property, and we can set the alignment to somewhere in the right. So center right should be okay, right? So when we do that and we see, realize that our delete icon is on the right, but the problem is it appears too early. So we want to have some kind of padding in the container that pushes the icon a bit to the left. So just within the container we are going to have padding, and that is going to be edge insert dot only and then right, and the value is going to be 20, right? And that is going to push our container, our icon a bit to the right, so that it reveals a bit late. So if we swipe, we get this effect. Now let's change the color of our icon. So we want to change the color to be white, and now this is going to be the effect that we are going to get. And when someone dismiss this card, right, we don't want to remove it immediately. We want to give the user a chance to still keep it. So within the dismissible, right, within the dismissible, we're going to add that thing that is called confirm dismiss, right? So this confirm dismiss is a function that is going to give us the direction the user was dismissing from, and then it's supposed to also be an asynchronous function, so I have to add the async over here, and this must return a boolean indicating whether the user wants to indeed dismiss it or keep it, right? So if you don't return anything, it's going to return now for us when we save. So realize that we can't dismiss it because we are returning now, right? And if we return true over here, then we can dismiss. So we want to have a boolean to indicate whether we want to dismiss or keep the item in the cart. So the first thing we are going to do is when the user dismiss an item, we want to show a snack bar. So instead of the return, or for now we can return true, but then we can do scaffold messenger dot of context dot show snack bar, and then our snack bar, and then the content is going to be a text that is going to say remove from cart. So remove from cart. So that is going to show us the remove from cart as soon as the user swipes, but then for now it does nothing. So what we are going to do is within the remove within the snack bar there is something called an action, right? And then we are going to pass in a snack bar action, and this snack bar action is going to have a label which is going to be the text we want to show, and that is going to be keep, and then the on press. So what happens when the user taps on that keep? So we can move the cons from here, and then also we need a string instead, so keep like this, and now we are going to have this, but for now the keep does nothing, right? Now one thing is I want to reduce the duration of the snack bar. So realize that the snack bar lasts a bit longer than 3 seconds. So I think the default is 4 seconds, so I'm going to set the duration to be seconds, and then it's going to be 3, right? So after 3 seconds the snack bar should be dismissed. Now we don't want to remove the item until the 3 seconds has passed, right? So we don't want to return true immediately after we've shown the snack bar, but we want to await a response from this onPress before we can return either true or false based on that. So the first one is, if the user doesn't choose any action within 3 seconds, I want to proceed to remove the item from the cart, right? So instead of after just showing the snack bar, I don't want to proceed to return true, but I want to wait 3 seconds before returning true. Now in order to achieve this, we want to have a particular feature that returns a boolean, which is either true or false based on what action the user took within 3 seconds. Now this might sound a bit complicated, but it's quite simple. So what we are going to do is, that has something called completer. So we are going to create a variable called completer, and that is going to be a completer and then of type bool. So that is going to be a boolean, and this completer will allow us, so it will allow us to generate a future. So it's more like we are creating our own future that is going to resolve or fail, right? But in this particular instance, we are going to complete our feature with a boolean. So what we are going to do is we are going to return completer. We have to await this completer dot feature, right? So whatever this completer will complete with, whether it's complete with false or true, that's what we are going to return, right? So in the first case, when the user taps on the keep button, we want to complete this feature with a value of what? False, right? So if the user taps on the keep, what we want to do is we want to complete, so completer dot complete, and then we pass in a boolean which is false. Then we want to also hide the snack bar, so we can do scaffold messenger dot of context dot hide snack bar, or hide current snack bar. So that is going to hide the current snack bar. So with this implementation done, so when the user taps on keep, we are going to complete this feature with false, which means that keep that particular item and don't dismiss it. So if I try this and then I tap on keep, it's going to reverse the action and then keep this particular item. Now what happens if the user doesn't choose any option within 3 seconds, right? So then it means the user wants to proceed to dismiss the cart item, but then this completer doesn't have any initial value. So what we are going to do is we're also going to set a timer for 3 seconds. So we can have a timer, and the duration is going to be 3 seconds. So just like the snack bar, and when this timer, if the completer is not completed, right? So if this completer is not completed, which means the user hasn't chosen any value within the set time, which is the 3 seconds, then we want to proceed to complete it with true, right? So all that we are doing is within 3 seconds, if the user has not completed this action with anything, whether true or false, right, which in this case is going to be false, then we want to complete it with true, and then we want to hide the snack bar. So I'm going to copy this like this, right? So what is going to happen is if I dismiss this guy to the right, left, and then within 3 seconds, if I don't do anything, it's going to remove it, because within 3 seconds, by then the completer hasn't completed, right? And then we can complete it with true, which means proceed to dismiss the cart item. Then we can hide the current snack bar if it is not already hidden within 3 seconds, right? So that is going to be for our dismissible. And then let's go back to our main UI, right? So within the cart page, and then implement the rest of the page. So we are going to have the total items in cart as well as total price in a row. So I'm going to move this comment like this, and then our total items in cart. So we are going to have a text, and then I'm going to calculate the total items, which is going to be total. So come over here, we're going to have total, and that is going to be in brackets, and then we are going to have our total, our cart items dot length. Right, so we are going to have total 4 like this. Also, we need some space between our list of cart items and then the total. So I'm going to use a sizer box and then give it a height of 15. Right, so that's going to give us some space. So our total is going to be 4 items, and then we want to have the price, right? So the total price. So we're going to create a variable for the total price. So that's going to be final total price, and that's going to be cart items dot map. So, and then I want to return the price for each item, right? And then I'm going to reduce those price. So I'm going to add all those price, and then it's going to be value plus element. Right, so this is just going to calculate for the total price. You can use reduce, or you can use fold. There are a lot of ways you can do this. So this is going to be our total price, and I'm going to put our total price together with the total in a row. So wrap it widgets in a row, and then we are going to have our text. That is going to be our total price like this, and then we are going to have a main axis alignment of space between. Right, and now let's style our total price. So we're going to have a style coming from our team, and then we are looking for our title medium. I want to copy that and then change the font weight. So font weight, and then make it bold like this, and this can be nullable, so like this, font weight dot bold. Right, now also we want to change the color, so let's update the color to be our primary color. Like this. Now the last thing is our button for proceed to checkout. So just after this row, we are going to have a sizer box of height 20, and then we are going to have our button. So that's going to be a filled button dot icon, and then the onPress is going to be just an empty function, currently bold, and then we are looking for arrow right, and also the label is going to be our text, which is going to be proceed to checkout. So proceed to checkout. Right, and that is going to be the UI for the cart page. Right, if you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe. Also, if you've got any questions, you can leave it in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.